So one of the big questions in percussion is, how do you keep score? How can you decide who the star performer of a brake drum is? How can you decide what the next virtuoso of the flower pot or the empty wine bottle is? And the fact is that you can't. So the currency of classical music, the way in which you compare by means of slight inflections, one performance to another, and then create schools of thought and create something that is ultimately saleable by the presenters and agents of classical music, that doesn't really exist in the world of contemporary percussion music, or it exists in a very, very different way. Contemporary percussion music is, in essence, the celebration of the individual's choice in a way in which you cannot say often that a certain performance of flower pots is better than another, but that it is simply different. And the celebration of that is really at the lifeblood, it's really at the root of the percussive art to me. I mean, I think about the human voice as a reference for percussion a lot. You know, I love to listen to country music. I love the voice of Patsy Cline. You know, I love especially the sort of old-style country voice, and I love to listen to the blues. Now, you take a blues voice, Ma Rainey, for example, and that on sort of conservatory standards is not a great voice. But I would listen to that voice any day of the week over a kind of uniformly manufactured conservatory product. So to listen to the blues is to celebrate the roots of individuality in the production of sound. To listen to country music is the same kind of thing. And I think that's really what percussion is about. I mean, I think percussionists are more like organists almost than anybody else. You know, every instrument is different, and it's the creation and the construction of that instrument and the way you activate it that provides identity and individuality and art. We're living in the Wild West in terms of percussion, at least in the contemporary meaning of that. You know, it's so recent. The solo language is around 50 years old. The ensemble language is 75 or 80 years old. And so we're talking about an art form in its early stages of development. And so how do you know whether something is good or not? I don't know the answer to that question. I think it comes down to something much more basic, and that is, does a musical experience by a percussionist move you? Is it important to you? In which case it's probably a quality musical experience. But I can tell you something that I regret. I think percussion is now realizing that it can play in the same world as classical musicians have done for generations. And so there are now percussion soloists who are trying to merge their careers with kind of contemporary commercial classical music. Concertos are being written for large orchestras and percussion soloists, and people have developed careers and recordings and reviews and all of these kinds of things. And on one hand, not only is that a positive statement, because it means that percussion is coming to the attention of a wider audience, and I certainly have participated in that myself, but we have to remember of what we lose when we join the parade. What we lose when we join the parade is the ability to maintain an individual, a non-corporate, a non-commercial standard in this music. What we give away in that area, we will never get back. And so I think my advice to young percussionists is, yes, create a career, get a job, live your life in percussion, and if success and financial reward and commercial adulation comes to you, then fantastic. But never lose track of what you trade to get that.